Okay. You're gonna have to really?
Yes, you're gonna have to go Maggie on this one. I'm sorry.
Right.
1 hour. Give me 1 hour at loud volume.
Okay, louder. There. That's good. Okay. Hi.
I'm just gonna say that everyone in this room wanted to be here, specifically for you. There has been 30 years of you sharing, creating, supporting, encouraging the people in this room, even before they started
in the
stitching.
back room. I'm like in the back room,
Right.
hiding.
But then we bring you into the sun, Nora Corbett.
I mean, when I first started doing them, I thought, when I started selling, I was like, what are people doing? Like wallpapering their walls with it? Thousands would go out and everything. I mean, I could go on, but what do you want to know?
All right, so here is the first question,
Okay,
and
get it going.
I hate to be controversial right off the bat. Is it Mirabilia or Mirabilia? How do you say it?
Say Mirabilia.
Mirabilia. You heard it.
But it's not Mirabilia.
Wait.
Not Mirabil.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Mirabilia.
Bilia. Bilia. Mirabilia. Everyone together. 1, 2, 3. Mirabilia. Nice.
And it's Latin for wonderful.
That was my next question. Where did that come?
My ex came up with it, and I was so like, my therapist made me do my first one. And I was like, I can't do this, and I had to go in every week, and I was super depressed, and she's like, did you work on your pattern? And it was the damask roses, and I was like, I can't do that, and she, and then I was like, okay, whatever, so I did it to make her quiet. And then my ex printed up a bunch of them, and he's just like, well, what, he came up with a name. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. and they're just gonna be in my basement reminding me what a loser I am. And you should try thinking, because I was just like, I can't do this. I worked for my mom for a long time, and it just wasn't.
But you are not your mom.
No.
And this is you.
Yeah.
This is no one but you.
And I wanted to do things that I wanted to cross stitch. I went to art school, and when my mom first told me about cross stitch, I was like, In fact, we had this thing where we called, all the teddy bears and everything, we would call potty art because it hangs in the bathroom. And like, we're not doing, and I was just like, I'm not doing it. What? And then it was like, well, I want them to look like tapestries. I want them to look like museum pieces, like something that you can find in a trunk in an attic, and it looks, just like as beautiful and classic, not trendy. That's why I don't do a lot of things, like, I forget what they're called. Anyway, I like to keep them classic, and I want them to look like real art. And sometimes they get, I don't want them to be too cartoony, but like I do a lot of, I've been inspired a lot by Gustav Klimt, and that's why you have all the patterns, and I change over the years. And I spent 6 years in New York where I was at the Met all this time. So I can like point out things that are inspired from that, like
At the Met.
At the Met. Actually, I was before that. And let's think.
Now, one of the things that you very graciously gave to us is access to the sketchbook.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just incredible.
Yeah, I can explain.
Can you walk us through
Okay.
your process from, I'm inspired, I'm going to sit down and make art, to, hey Maggie, why don't you stitch this? Like, how does that and how can I get on the beginning?
I heard it once, inspiration, I heard it once described from some woman, that it's like a storm coming over, like a tornado coming over the hill, and you have to be there to catch it when it comes over. So like, I sit at my desk and every day, every morning, and I'm just like drawing, and sometimes nothing happens, but then sometimes you're there and you like get this idea, and then it's like, I start drawing and drawing and drawing, and then it's like easy, and it just comes from nowhere, and then I look down and it's like, sometimes I'll look down at a fairy and I'm like, where did you come from? Like as soon as I draw the face, she tells me what she's wearing and what she looks like. So it's like, I can, like some of them like, well, I knew right away with these girls what they would look like. Like, you know, and some of them, they just come out, like this one is like, I know exactly what she's gonna look like as soon as I start it. Now those are the great ones. There are some where I'm like, I gotta work today, I gotta, you know, and I get far ahead. I'm usually like a year ahead, what, you know, so that I don't feel the pressure of having to do one today and tomorrow. So like, I have like 6 or 7 of them, like, you know. So like, that's why I didn't even know what was released recently.
Right, because there's a delay between when we get Luna, but when you actually created her.
Yeah.
It's about 6 to 12 months,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes, and so
Depending?
then they have someone do the models, and like honestly, like I can complain about like, you know, but like we work so well together because I don't have to worry about getting, you know, all the little
business
stuff. Yeah, like basically, and this is what I like to say, I send a piece of paper in the mail and they put money in my bank account. So it's not, I could be making a heck of a lot more, but this is, you know, how I can stay free and open and move and not stress about all that stuff, because I'm really not good at it. I'm really bad at money.
So you have the sketch,
Yeah.
and then you mail that to Winchell,
No.
or how does that happen?
Okay, so I do it all. It never touches a computer, ever, until it gets to Winchell. So like, I'll talk about computer later, but I have this paper, and it's kind of like magic paper that my mom gave me. And she had it printed specially, and I tried to find it, I can't find it anywhere. And it's pale blue, and it has a grid on it. And you can draw on one side and flip it over, just like any kind of transparent paper, and it's a grid, and there's something about the scale of this stuff, and you draw it out. So I draw the face, whatever, the dress, and then I turn it over, and then I turn it into squares, you know, and then I erase the other side, and there you have it. Like I have a piece of it somewhere. So that's how I do it, and I only have so much of this paper, but I have erased it over and over and over, and some of them I've designed like 10 designs on already.
Wow.
And it's still, so it's like the magic paper. And now like I have like a pile of it, and I've looked for it, and I've done, you know, there's something about the scale of it that works perfectly for me. And I've found other like transparent grid paper, and it doesn't really work, and I don't know why.
Interesting.
So I have a piece of it. So anyway.
Do you have enough for another 30 years?
No,
Like, because if you're running out next week, we're gonna have an issue.
I erase it and use it over and over. You can see.
So it's reusable.
Yes, but you can see, and I often think that someday it'll be in a museum and they'll be able to scan and see all the patterns that
Wow, like just layers and layers.
Layers. Yeah, it's really cool. And like you can see like, oh, there's a corner of another pattern and a corner of another pattern. I'll just erase the middle, and yeah. So like I just use it over and over, and like Damask Roses, I'll draw a new pattern on the same piece of paper. Like it's really weird.
Amazing.
30 years.
Yeah.
Also, I was panicking there a little. I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the only one in
No,
the
it's like made, and I've looked all over, and I think it's from Germany, and I think that they used to use it for making dresses, and I don't know, and I can't find the exact same color and the exact same scale, and I looked.
Well, we have a room full of sleuths.
I can show it to you. But anyway, my mother used to never tell anybody about it. It was like a deep, dark secret, this paper, so I just told them.
Well, maybe that's why we can't find it.
Well, and now if any of you want to design, there you go.
Yes.
That's
Now, how did the Nora Corbett line come to be where you've got beautiful sparkles and now tiny?
Yeah, okay,
small?
so it was supposed to be like the gateway drug. I can't, you know, I can never stitch a Mirabilia, it's too big. But I could maybe do a little one. So, and then once you realize you can do a little one, you know, do some more. Plus it started like right after, there's a timeline, and like I worked the business with my husband, and we got divorced and had big money problems, and that's when Winchell came in and helped me. And at one point I had like no money, like I was bankrupt. And so like I was starting all over again, and I designed, everything in my life was a mess. I was like, you know, things happen, like you can be that way. And you're at your lowest. And I was living in this like commune type building, and my kids were like little, and I was like, the only thing I know how to do is draw a fairy that people might like. And I drew Tiger Lily. And every time I look at her, it's like, oh girl, we're still here. You know? It's like, because she was like, I had nothing, everything was messed up. But then I could do that. And that's one thing my mom did teach me too, is that they can take everything away from you, but they cannot take your creativity. I can still wake up tomorrow morning and do another thing. You know, like when you feel bad about stuff, I don't know. But so yeah, so that's when the Nora started as like, and then I did like the deer, the
Reindeer?
Yeah, the reindeer, and they were like, then the Nora line started, and then Witchell just like, there's a huge warehouse in Wisconsin with all of the patterns stacked.
Where, what address is that?
And they have people there. I mean, like, I could never do that. You know, like my husband tried, I think we got up to like, I don't know, 80 designs and he could barely keep it straight. So, I mean, obviously there's like, I don't know how many hundreds. So they have, you know, people answer the phones and they ship out every day and they ship all over the world and they do all of that.
They handle the business front work,
Yeah.
so that you can be free
Yeah,
to
I mean,
draw.
we're good partners.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, how do you choose your colors? Do you kind of get in this groove where you have a favorite of the moment? Are you inspired by a
You know,
particular
I have my
queen?
favorite colors.
We know you've got some favorite colors.
And you know, the funny thing is I don't like pull a bunch of colors and just use those. I put them all away after each pattern and I pull again.
Wow.
So if I happen to pull again, like I probably should, because I have like, you know, once in a while, like, oh, this blend looks really good. I should probably have it like in an envelope and just like use it again, but I don't. I just start all over again and I mix them like paint, you know, because like there's colors that aren't there. So I will mix them together just like paint to make that happen, you know, and blend and all that crazy stuff that you guys are all in my head wondering, like, you know, when you're stitching it, like, what is she doing now? Like, why on earth is this
Our
color
number
here?
one phrase that we say is trust the process. Because there has been some colors, Nora, that I'm like, oh no, she has Bob Ross giant treed this thing.
My mom and I
But if
used
you-
to watch Bob Ross, and we would be like, it's so good, and then
he'd go, doo, doo,
and that's what we would be. We'd be like, stop. And, you know, with art, it's always like, you have to stop, because you
Right.
can keep going and kill it.
But if you trust the process, Nora, I'm telling you, I'll stitch the brown, but I don't get it. And then when you step back, you're like, oh, okay, that's right.
I was gonna
that's
say
right.
brown. It's almost always I hear people being like, "Why did she put brown
Where?
here?"
What
And then,
brown here?
oh, in red.
In particular, it's Charlotte.
In red.
So there's a lot of brown right there.
Okay, so here's the reason.
But it looks right. I mean, when it's
Because
done.
it's like a painting. If you look at a painting, the shadow and everything. Also, the brown. There are colors that like sing, and they'll sing more if you put a dead. I call them dead to myself. Dead colors. You know, like a gray.
Interesting,
Or
yes.
Like if the whole thing was all those colors, it wouldn't look as bright. Like.
That makes complete
Also,
sense.
it's the opposite. You know, shadows. But yeah,
Like on Charlotte, these colors pop more because
Yes.
you've got that brown.
And if it would have been all just reds, it wouldn't. It's like some colors set up and they're around something so that another color can just be brighter. That's how I think of it.
Are there any of your designs that you have painted versus just drawn and colored, or do you do just drawings?
Well, sometimes
just...
I'll paint something and people are like, "Oh my god, I want that as a cross stitch pattern."
Yes, all the time.
And it's so hard because I mean I draw a certain way and turning something into cross stitch patterns is like faces are particular. I'm just gonna say it right here. If you have a bad face, you have a bad design. It's all in the face. Anybody can, I mean not anybody, but lots of people can draw a tail and a dress, but the face is the hardest part. And I've drawn a million faces over and over and over and over. And when I get the right one, then it's like, you know. And so, yeah, so the face is the most important.
Do you have a particular? I know that you don't yourself stitch everything.
No, I don't.
But do you have what is one pattern that you drew and you colored, and when you sat back, you went, "Oh, this is good." Like, what is your
There's parts.
parts?
Parts. There's always parts. Like, I'll be like, oh, that looks good, or you know. But like some of these I haven't seen for really, like this one I haven't seen for really long. You know,
Right.
It's been
And there's a
100 years.
Yeah, I've noticed, have you noticed the higher count fabrics on the table and how much smaller everything turns out? It's incredible, the difference.
That's crazy.
Right.
And like, but this one, like the color in person is insane.
It is.
Maggie, what's she pointing at?
I apologize. I am sorry, I'm just kind of like,
Remember, we started this whole thing just
Okay,
for
so like,
Maggie.
I know, I told them they just should have called me for coffee, and then they didn't have to do all
we
this.
did not know that.
They're
Hello.
like, oh, are we gonna meet Nora? I know.
We'll throw a retreat. Maybe she'll come.
And I'm like, you could just call me next time.
Hey Nora, how do you feel when someone changes
I
your
love
design?
it. I love it. It's like we are partners in making something. I don't have any.
You might need to hold the
house.
mic up a little bit closer.
Okay.
Or louder than you.
It's a good. You love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it when people do that because it's yours and you make it yours and you're creative and that's the beauty of it is like I'm giving you like here, here's something and then you can just make it better. Like I've already thought about it and agonized over it and everything and taken it as far as I can. Sometimes I'm like, and then you guys take it to another level and I'm like, wow. Because like they say that like art is never finished, you just get tired of it. And that sometimes that happens because I could just keep working on something over and over and over and sketching it over and over, but you gotta be like done.
Is there one, even if it's just an element that you wish you could go back to and tweak? Or is it like it's done, this is, and I'm finished with
Oh,
it?
there's some that I'm like, uh-oh.
Not in a bad way though. Not in a bad way.
No, because like when I do it, I hand symbol, each of those symbols, I hand draw it. It's just like, if you can see the original over there, if you could imagine a giant Mirabilia all in black and white, and then I send it, and somebody will key it into the computer at, Winchell, my symbols, and it comes back and I'm like, exactly, sometimes, most of the time it comes back exactly what I meant. Sometimes it'll come back with like green hair, and I'm like, what did I do? Like, oh, this did. The worst is if I start a design and it takes too long to finish. Like if I start a design thinking it's going to be one way, and then I change it, and it starts to turn into something else, and then it's all in black and white, and I'm like, what was I doing? It'll come out different, and some of them take a longer time.
Do you have a personal, on the other hand, do you have a personal favorite?
Well, I like right now.
Or is it more about significance for you? Like I remember what was going on.
Yeah,
where
there's
I
a lot of
was.
them like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of them. I have a lot of feeling about where I was and what I was doing, and these guys were like the first time I ever did anything like that. Like that scale. Sorry. That face and that scale. Nobody did anything like that. Just nobody.
Sorry.
The
6 holiday fairies.
The holiday fairies. They were kind of like the first pixies. Like, this is the first time you ever see anything that size, with that scale, with the beads. And I was like, this is really scary. And I did them, and it was like really hard and weird and looking, and I didn't know if it would. And so then, I start with that, and then all of a sudden, you have this guy where it's like, see? Years later, we're doing this kind of crazy stuff. And
Also, Nora Corbett is touching your project.
Those are terrible. I do love that. I do crazy stuff, and you guys kind of go along with it. Like, I love to try new things. I get bored. If I'm bored designing something, you're going to be bored stitching it. Pretty sure. That's why I slip around. It's like there's no plan. I'm like, oh, I think I've done a lot of mermaids this year. I think I'm
Have you though, Nora?
I will do like a glut, and then I'll be like, oh, I gotta do a queen. And that's, and I do different things, like even with the Nora Corbetts, I do, like the Christmassy guys, this is Little Bunny.
Those were so good.
I love you.
A bunch of us were talking about your animals last night, and like we don't see
It's
them
hard
often.
to do animals. Sorry. And that's the one part when I do touch the computer in my studio, if you want to talk about the internet, is if I have to draw like a bunny, and I'll look up 100 bunnies and see what do they really look like, But that's the only time I really, or maybe, I just don't use the computer, and I should, and I know I'm a little backwards, but I also like the fact that I do it all by hand, and you do it all by hand, and it's kind of a pure thing.
Yeah.
That's precious.
It's not.
Nora, don't touch a computer. We're
Okay.
good.
It's like I can't, like, if you scan something in and then you're hand stitching it, I just like it's like hand, and I like it that way.
So it's really deep and connected to
It
people.
is.
Yeah, like
the
it's all
artists.
by hand. It's a pure, beautiful art form, and if you guys make it happen.
If you had to wear one of your big fancy lady dresses, which one would you pick?
I don't know, all of them. I love. So my mom was a fashion illustrator in the 70s. The other funny thing is that when I was a little girl, I did girls in big dresses, and I was just like, oh my god, like, you can't make a living doing that. But apparently you can. I tell little girls if I see them someplace, I'm always like, see, I drew fairies when I was little too. They tell you. And I was criticized in I went to art school. One of the art schools, the best art school I did really well at, and then I went to another art school and they criticized me for doing women who looked Victorian and sad, and what were they thinking? And and I'm like, well, and I was just like destroyed. Like, that's a bad thing, to do that, and it was at that time, in Cleveland at that time when it was like punk rock and everything. So, and now I like make my living doing that kind of beautiful thing. But if you look at the classic paintings, there's always fabric and the way the light hits it in paintings, and I love old paintings a lot. I think you can tell, and design.
I also think you, especially recently, are starting to offer a variety. You've got your houses and your chairs and the teacups, and you've got.
Well, because I can't do a pixie every month. Come on.
I mean, you could.
I could, but I'm ready. There's all these different parts of me. Like, I love the little greenhouses. I love like little things, that don't really fit. And that's what Nora Corbett is about. The NC is things that don't fit. Like the nudes that I just did. I was so scared to put those out. I was like, I held them back. I wasn't going to put them out. I showed Witchell, and I'm like, they did it. There's not a group of them yet. There's only 2. And because it takes it has to be perfect. When you have all those lines on a body, it has to be perfect. And it takes some real crafting to get it to look right. It's not, like, oh, you just draw it and there it is. Especially like you can only go over so many squares and blah, blah, blah. But, and I love those. I love the tattoos, and I love making things looking cool, and I think I'm cool, my sons don't. And I one time, like, we like to joke in my house because this Fairies and Mermaids put my boys through college.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you. And one time I was like sketching in my son's room, and I had a fairy attached to the wall, sketching and drawing. I was on his computer. And he's like, Mom, there's a fairy in my room. And I'm like, do not mess with the fairies. Do not. These are very, very special. Don't cross them. Do not. So, it's been fun.
Do you remember one design in particular that was particularly challenging for you? Either because
the first mermaid was hard because I was like, I googled 30 years ago, Mermaid with the Pearls. I googled mermaids and there were none. I mean, none. Like, none.
Actually, is a very good point. I don't remember a lot of them.
Like 30 years ago, and I was just like, what does a tail look like? And you can see it was really hard. You can see I kind of was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and so that's hard. What else is hard? I go out on a limb and I try things that are really different a lot, just because people are like, oh, we love your old designs, and I'm like, yeah. But I also want to try new things, and I'm growing as a person, as an artist. I'm not into the same things I was.
And you can see the progression, I think.
Yes.
If you look at the timeline.
And like Eliana has like so many crazy patterns and stuff. And that's because like I'm like in love with Klimt, Gustav Klimt, and the patterns, and I'm really into that. But then I also realized that, like, I don't know, sometimes I just don't want them to look like cartoons, and then they can become too cartoony if it's too bright. I don't know, it just depends. They're all each their own thing.
Have you always been on the beads and metallics train? Like from the beginning, where you're like, oh, this needs some bling, or was that something?
Oh, you know, I kind of use them as a crutch now. It's really bad because, like, if I had to design a design without beads, like, I could do it. But, like, you know, you're like, this would be great as a bead, you know? The crystals in her hair, like, yeah, it like pops and it works great. Okay, here's a question. How many beads are too many?
None. You'd be happy.
I would take a beaded something or other.
No. Okay, so what about, I have one question. When you get it and it's printed flat, like a big, you get it, you unfold it and it's flat. Would you rather it be in pages?
Yes.
No.
Can we get both?
All right, everybody for pages, raise your hand. Wow. Everybody for flat.
Because seeing it flat, you see the whole design, but it's hard to stitch when you have to lay a poster out in front of you.
No, it's not, because you buy two so you can fold one up.
Maybe. She's who put your kids through college.
Print the pictures and post them.
I bought two of each.
Yes.
I bought two.
And then one I can fold up and do whatever, and it's
I mean, honestly, Nora, I love the first unraveling of a giant pattern, but it does make it more difficult to make working copies. I don't want to mess it up.
It's so special, and it makes it the experience more special.
I mean, the whole Mirabilia line is like, this is, okay, so the packaging, when we designed it, it was like styled, and we were like, oh, it's gotta be something cool and special, because this is something really, this is gonna be something, and it's actually styled after a pantyhose bag, or with the window in the bag to have the sizes.
Yeah. Can I just say, I was going to jump in and say, it's like a royal invitation to a ball.
That's what it is.
It's pantyhose.
And I love that they stack, and I love the aesthetic of it.
They are fun to flip through.
But I do know, like in the beginning, it was like, it doesn't hang. What are you doing? It has to. Well, sorry, it has to sit on the counter. Sorry.
What if we got poster-sized model photos?
Oh. So.
And then the pattern.
Models. Yeah. That's so weird. Like back in the day, my mom would be like, "They can stitch from the photo if it's too big." And like, if they can, then let them.
I am not that smart, and thank you for not thinking I'm that smart.
I think it might be worth, with having no knowledge of anything at all, I think it might be worth maybe both. The big.
Big and the little.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's just how you want your art to be packaged and delivered. And honestly, it doesn't matter, Nora. We're going to stitch it.
I never even thought about it until today. I never thought about it until
We're
today.
just going to stitch it the way you give it to us.
I did notice that some people do pages, and I thought that was interesting. I just haven't ever done it that way. And
There's nothing, we will never tell you to not experiment
And I know you
with
can
the way you
put
want
it
to
in
do
the
it.
computer, and you can do, and the PDFs and everything, and I've never really done PDFs, but I have a couple times, but not really. And
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that later on, make sure. Are there any Easter eggs? Are there any
I
designs where
want to
maybe...
do that. I want to put stuff.
So not yet?
No, I mean, for me,
Like, what would you do?
I would love to do like a mystery one that has like clues in it.
Please.
But I love like the first thing is Sherry's husband helped me come up with the idea of doing the stars, the constellations, so that when you turn the light out, you can see the constellations already. So I wanted, but then like I'm already like color, form, drawing, blah, 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 so like I'm just like, but if I really would love to have like a story or a mystery or
That would be
symbol.
amazing.
And you know, I think about symbolism, and there's usually just a lot of, you know, what they're doing, what they're holding, how they're
Right.
standing. Their attitude is very important. Sometimes they look mean. Sometimes
It's
they
okay to
don't.
say no to this, but would you mind sharing your fashion plate idea that you talked to me about
Oh,
for your
okay.
sketchbook? If you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
Because
Okay.
I would purchase everything.
Okay, so I came up with this idea, and I just was drawing at home because it's better when I just draw for myself and not think about you guys. No,
That's fair.
Because if I have to sit and think about a you want or you want or you want or you want, I will freeze and nothing will happen. So I started painting. But these actually, I can explain for a second what these are. So the blue paper, I take it to, you know, I just Xerox the blue paper and then I color it in different ways. And that's what these are. These are hand colored.
You keep going.
Okay. No. Okay. All right. So these are hand colored, and this is the this is what, you know. I'm sure you guys got a chance to look at it here. No. No. Okay. So I'll let me see. I'll pull these out. So what I did was I was touching her art. Oh my god. Okay. So precious. So I was at home in the woods in my house. And it's cold, and I'm like, okay, wouldn't it be cool? Well, my friend just kept telling me about, it's called the Exquisite Corpse. Have you ever played that? No, it's like where a friend draws the top and you draw the bottom, and it makes some kind of weird thing. And I thought, that's really cool. And then I remembered when I was little, you know, you have the flip books. And so I was like, I could make a flip book where you could, you know, just like, this is just something I'm doing for whatever, where you could flip the head, switch the body, switch the bottom. So you can flip through, and I thought that would be really cool. And then I was like, well, what I just here the other day, I was like, well, I guess they could be cross stitch patterns, and you could, if you could put a queen's head on a fairy tale and like make your own. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes. So like there's like, oh my god. So like this is a fairy. So you could have fairy wings on a, you know, mermaid tail with a queen head. So you could do it yourself because because the way I did it with it, like the neck and the waist would be like the intersecting points where you could change it if you wanted. But then that means, and then we go back to, it's like, okay, that means I'm going to do 4 designs, and it's going to be Mirabilia, and it's going to take up like 8 months of the year, and everyone's going to be like, well, we're waiting for it. I am doing something really cool that I'm excited about, that's coming out. And
Can we get a cake?
yeah, I'll tell you. And then you can just come for me.
Yeah. She told me this the other night, and I was immediately like, can you just go up to your room and do this?
Which one is it?
The fashion, like this idea.
Yeah, this idea. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not because it's like, obviously, the Mirabilia, it's like, that's every 2 months you see a Mirabilia. So this would be like people you'd have to wait around if you wanted to do the, you know, because I can't do all of these at once.
Well, wait, Nora. Now, Amy is yelling at me because apparently you said hints.
Oh, hint. Yeah, okay, the hint. So I'm really super obsessed right now personally, and I don't know why, in dollhouses and miniatures. So I have already designed rooms that can be, and you can stack them and put them all together. And they're going to be coming out probably in the next year.
Ooh.
Probably. You heard it here first. But the problem is, so I think I've got like 6 furs coming, and I'm going to say how like, okay, the 3 rooms on the downstairs and the 3 rooms on the second, you know, that could be one whole piece of fabric. Or you could frame them all separately and hang them on the wall, like the dollhouse. But I'm just like really into miniature stuff and the little world, and you can make it your own. Please make it your own, you know, do your own thing, put your own stuff on it. It's yours. I don't know how to cross stitch well. It's just, You do it. I just draw. Yeah. So.
I think those are both excellent. I can't wait.
And then, yeah, this one was gonna be like a witch, but then I really didn't. I don't know. But see, this is me. Like I draw color things over and over and over. You guys have no idea how many faces I've drawn. Yeah. So, but like this could be a day in my life would be here.
Yeah, I like that black one. Sure.
Yeah, I do. You like the black one?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the. It's me. I like it.
It's all for you, Sherry. Oh, look, this is my friend's face, her daughter. And then this is what happened one morning in my house. I would be like, draw like a million different little fairies and be like, well, like I could do star fairies. And like I really don't sit down and know like, oh, next week I'm going to do this. I don't know. I don't know until I sit down and do it because I have to be really into it to like want to spend all that time on it. You guys have to fall in love with it in order to do it. Like that's, you have to really be obsessed with something to want to do it. Right.
Is there any of your designs that you feel kind of represents you as an individual? Like, is there one that you feel like you have put the most of yourself in it?
I think I always put a lot of myself in it.
Yes, that is definitely a
And
parent.
plus, it's like, as an artist, you're like showing everybody. And that's how, like, I stay out of Facebook. I go into Facebook, I stay out of Facebook. Like, sometimes I get a little, like, when someone's wallet is safe, I kind of am like, why?
Well, I think that...
No, I get it, but it's like I'm sensitive, too. Like, but then I also, like, put it out there and run away and forget about it.
Well, I think that's
I'm
part
just
of
whatever.
being an
That's why,
artist.
like, I can barely remember the names or what they look like because they're gone.
Right.
I sit down with a blank slate next week when I sit down, and I'll be like, what am I going to do?
Okay, if you weren't doing this, though, what would you be doing with your life right now? If it wasn't cross-stitch designing?
Dream or, like, what I probably, I don't know. I wanted to paint. I do paint a lot. And when I take a break to paint, it all crosses over. I get ideas both ways, with colors or what I'm working on. I would be a painter if I could make a living at it. I'd probably still be in, I don't know, display. I'd like to illustrate books, but, that's a whole nother thing. And, I just really like the process. Like I have steps. I draw it, and then after I draw it, and then I put it into squares, and then I copy it and I color it a couple different ways, and then I pull the colors that, because I colored it, and then I pull the colors, and then I take one little section at a time, which really goes against art school. They're like, work on the whole thing at once. When you're painting, you're supposed to be working on this part and that part and that part. You're not supposed to work on it part by part. So it's like it was a brain thing for a while. So you have to do one. And then sometimes I'd be like, when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to do the hands, and they're going to be the best hands anyone's ever seen. Or I'm going to do like the bird, and it's going to be the best bird anyone's ever seen. That's how I go about it. And then it gets finished and I send it away. And sometimes I write the descriptions like 2 weeks before it's just put out. And sometimes I name them right away. But you can see, like, there's one in here, like, I have all the notes in the corners. And when I'm inspired and I'm talking about it, like in my head, I'm like, and this is this, and this is that, and do this, and this color, and make sure you remember to do this. And so the notes are interesting because you can see how I think.
Nora, have you ever thought about doing a self-portrait design that would like epitomize who you feel you are?
I don't know. I did a lot of self-portraits in school, paintings and stuff like that. And I don't know. No, I wouldn't know.
No.
I mean, I think they all me in a way.
You're right.
So, and I want them to feel like they're you when you stitch them. Like, whatever you're going through. Like, I think, just Tiffany a long time ago, you told me about the moon, fairy moon. And then she was like looking up, and she was like, you were like, that was me. Did you tell me that? Maybe somebody else did. But anyway, they felt like they were going through something, and it was like really them. And I just was like, that's exactly it. Like you have to feel something for it, and then you make the little pieces, and it all comes together, and then make something beautiful, and you make it your own.
There is no pressure, but
What?
any chance we get a ginormous Miro witch?
Oh yeah, like, okay, here's the problem with that. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, I can see that. But like, witch hats are a little weird. You know, like you don't want it to look like
The big trunk.
Yeah, like
it's gotta be.
wearing a hat.
It has to be. No, it has to be finesse. It has to look. I could do a giant black evil woman.
Yeah.
Okay. But like that hat is tricky because I don't want it to look like a cartoon, you know, and I want it to be elegant and cool, and
That's fair. That's fair.
how big what? Oh, how big is too big on a cross-stitch pattern?
I'm very happy with the fat quarter.
What's it? Nora, you don't know this about Maggie, but she doesn't bother to find out if her fabric's big enough for the design.
Nora said I could make it my own. And if I find a color fabric, and in my head I'll go, oh, that's Lilith Lavender right there.
I love
don't
the
care if
colors
it's not big
of
enough.
head. And it changes it, and the colors you change. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so,
I'm gonna answer a question here. Is that okay with you?
just one, yes, because it'll be a firestorm.
Okay.
Like when you do a collection, do you just like draw one and then say, hey, she needs friends? So
No. When I do the sets of 6 for the Nora Corbett's, I draw, like, I'll draw all 6 of them.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I'll color all 6 of them. And then we'll, I'll pick all the colors for each one. And then I'll start like on a Monday and I'll do one a day.
Wow.
Symboling everything in, if I can. Sometimes one every 2 days. Because I like get tired and burn out. And I'm just like, can you tell what parts of the design I was like tired and burn out? Because like I'm like tired and burnt out designing it in because it's like I find that I can only do it for so many hours because then I just am like, I don't care anymore. It's a lot of intense stuff.
Do you write the blurbs
Yeah,
on the mirrors?
so-
Is that you?
Well, that's another story. That's how we ended up with so many mess ups with the fairies of the month.
Oh.
Because my neighbor wanted to be a copywriter, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'll pay you. I'll be your first customer. You can write the description for my fairy that I'm doing. And I said, just, I'm pretty sure it could be this fairy or that fairy of the month. That you find one that you like, and then you can write the description for me. And she did, and she put the wrong fairy with the wrong month. And I didn't look at it because I had little kids and I was busy and stuff. So that's how that happened.
So we've got one more question for you, and then we're going to let you promenade. If you
hang out and have. Okay, good.
She's a Victorian lady, she knows what promenade means.
I saw the look on her face.
Just wander, you guys. And
You know what? Honestly, can we have an applause for these two? More beautiful, best vibe. Everyone getting along, cool. Retreat like I have here. It's the best. It's the best. And now that it's ruined me for other retreats. So.
Oh my God, I can't.
Okay, well, let's just go home. I cannot give you anything more than what I was just given. Okay, one more question, and then I'm gonna go to excuse myself.
In the bathroom stall. If you had to design one thing right now, would it be a queen? Would it be a dragon? Would it be a fairy? Like if we were like, Nora, do it! And just like,
I could probably sit down here and start designing something. Maybe I'll do that at the next retreat.
done. And on that note, we can't go any higher. Give a round of applause. Nora freaking Corbett. Thank you, Nora, for your time. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself. And thank you for this beautiful catalog of pretties. I can't do that. Thank you for everything.